Hey everybody, John the Other here. To smash the patriarchy. This has been the stated goal of feminists as long as I've been aware that feminism was a thing when I guess I was about 10 years old. And for the longest time I thought patriarchy was a euphemism for men. To smash the patriarchy. I thought meant to disenfranchise men, to relegate them to second class or third or fourth class citizen status. And the denials from feminists that they were not a movement of hatred towards men did nothing to change my mind. Now, of course, I know better. The patriarchy is civilization. That is what is meant to be reduced to rubble, and the demolition is coming along nicely. Our courts, which took thousands of years to develop as the means for us to resolve criminal grievance without blood feud or improvised public lynchings, have been set neatly aside. This has been demonstrated by the rise of the Me Too movement. But nobody should be confused that this is the start of something new. For women, social media is where criminal grievances are addressed now, and nobody should be surprised. Because women have always created whisper networks with other women, which is an uncontroversial fact everybody likes to forget whenever we're prompted to nod obediently with the myth of women's historic powerlessness. The internet has simply amplified this traditional power network. Now, for anybody attempting to keep track of the people targeted and destroyed by unsourced, unverified, uninvestigated, and anonymized accusations, there are just too many. They are coming too fast. And the public's attention span is too short to even publish factual rebuttals, even if anybody bothered to research or write or publishing anything along those lines that we might, a decade ago, have called news. The result, for each new person accused, is professional and societal death. This is one of the reasons why in pre-modern civilizations, such as ancient Rome, slander and libel were extremely grave crimes, and why in pre-modern honor cultures, an insult could sometimes be repaid with a killing. But of course we don't live in an honor culture, and duels over insults or slander are a quaint and archaic memory that nobody takes seriously now. The reason is that modern civilized people like you and me live in a culture where grievances are resolved through a formal, measured, and recognized process which we call the courts. At least we lived in such a culture until very recently. But this is still, for the moment, what an anthropologist might call a dignity culture. The rules, however, have changed, but the values that we conduct ourselves by may remain in place until at least one generation grows up within the new rules. But we do not live anymore within a society that can keep functioning as a dignity culture because the court, as a place to resolve grievances, has been replaced with a new kind of internet-amplified vigilante justice. And a consequence of this is the values of an honor culture will be coming back. And this has a few probable consequences that I can think of. Western societies are typically very, very safe places. And this is superficially because in all Western societies, there are well-funded and well-organized police agencies operating on a mandate provided through elected governments and connected to courts, also operated by government. But that's only the superficial reason for the safety that is common in Western societies. Our society is safe because people don't feel a social need to use direct or personal violence or allow themselves to be drawn into cycles of vendetta over matters which have recently moved away from the court and into the realms of improvised extrajudicial mob justice. But as I said, the structure that allows people to not resolve grievances through direct action and allows them to defer to the courts is, if not completely gone, certainly no longer operating. And of course mainstream journalists and opinion broadcasters who have been saying things like the courts don't work for women are, it turns out, themselves mostly activist lawyers, legal professionals, legal academics, and their students, indeed creating the changes to law at the same time that they tell women explicitly not to use the courts and police in favor of criminal accusation broadcast through social media with no fact-checking. And here we are now, in a post-Me Too culture, in which the court is a quaint relic, and justice is that of the angry mob. Raise your hand if you think this goes anywhere except towards a culture in which cycles of retribution again become normal. And women, this is the society you have worked so very hard to give rise to. The utopia the feminists have been pushing for after they smashed what they called patriarchy. Well, your utopia is going to rise out of the shambles. And I can already tell it's not going to be one that makes you safe. As for me, I'm going to need a new jacket for riding in the spring. Kevlar, I think. Hey everybody, so before I wrap this video up, there's one thing I wanted to talk about. I have been for a couple of weeks now wanting to do a video addressing strategies and self-defense techniques for people who might find themselves on the bad end of a Me Too style accusation. The problem with doing that video is that the situation in the public sphere is evolving so rapidly, so quickly, that I cannot be sure from one week to the next what's going to be effective. As well, every individual case is so distinct and separate from every other case that strategic guides given as a general are, might be very useless, and I might give some general piece of advice that's great in one situation and, harmful in another. So I'm going to include a video clip here that I prepared a couple of weeks ago, which was intended to be part of a larger self-defense video for people dealing with these false accusations, and I hope somebody can at least make use of this piece. Thanks very much for watching, and, blah blah. So this is a clip showing how to download Facebook messages, and the reason I'm showing people this is very often, especially in cases that Lighthouse is dealing with, people are accused of all kinds of sexual and other misbehavior, stalking, sexual harassment, and so on. And the supposed evidence will be a screenshot from an accuser. And the accuser very often will have deleted major sections of the conversation that they participated in, showing the remaining comments made by the other person in a different context that they would be if the entire conversation is there. If you are in a breakup or an unpleasant situation with somebody and you think there's an accusation going to be thrown around, they may have deleted many of their own comments from the conversation so that they can show the back and forth in a different context than it actually occurred in. You can download your Facebook messages, and even if the other party in a comment or in a conversation deleted their messages from the conversation, when you download it using the technique shown in this looping video clip, you will have every message that they deleted, and you can prove to a peace officer, to a law enforcement, or to a court that the conversation took the format that it actually did, and you can bypass the editing by somebody of a conversation. Thanks a lot for listening. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, and for those people supporting the channel through Patreon or PayPal, thank you very much, and have a lovely, lovely day.